Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk. And we find ourselves in a different location today. It's a little tighter, a little closer. But I have my co-host, Hollis Lewis, here, and one of our normal guests, Coach Carpenter. And we're going to stay, partly my fault, Hollis, we're going to stay on the youth football issue, because one of the things that I want to make sure that we convey is not so much to those boards as much as I want parents to understand, even if you're in that league, if you're in Hurricane and you're in that league, you're happy that your kids are playing. If you're in Winfield and you're happy that your kids are playing, that's great, But unfortunately, if you're in the Kanawha Valley, you don't have the luxury of saying that a Kanawha County, or and you're in the political realm, Hollis, you don't have the ability to not accept Kanawha County teams just because you say that you don't want them part of it. And while I will stand with Dunbar, I will stand with Charleston. One of the concerns that I have is to one specific bylaw that focused on South Charleston particularly.
Yeah.
Being city funded. That is for every parent that has been part of South Charleston's youth sports programs. That is the best thing ever for you. It's saving you money. The city is bearing the expenses of all the equipment, officials, all of those kinds of things that you don't pay for your kid to be able to play.
Yeah.
My job is to make sure we do everything right. We don't break rules. So you have to then ask, I have to ask you guys this question. Not saying that Charleston or Dunbar by any stretch of the imagination has done anything wrong, but making the case for a case, right, that why South Charleston? Like we didn't win but a couple of games last year, so we're not a dominating team. So why focus on South Charleston? I mean, what would be your reason to focus? Coach Carp is laughing. What is your reason to go after South Charleston? We can't break rules. We don't break rules. We follow the rules according to how they are. Why us?
I mean, I think to echo your sentiment, it's not a competitive advantage.
Nope.
And, no matter whether you're at a collegiate level or high school level, everybody has different methodologies in how they fundraise and what the pools of money they're getting from what outside of what's allotted to them. So I just think in the best, thing I can come up with is probably to exclude y'all would mean that it's justified in excluding y'all, and we can justify excluding Dunbar and Charleston. That's the only thing I could come up with. Because like I said, it's not a competitive advantage.
Is there a reason to not have us in, Coach? I mean, what would
you want the Cabin Creek John Carpenter tell you? Or?
Yeah, give me the Cabin Creek guy.
I would think if I would think then the kids from Dunbar and Capital would be more likely to go to South Charleston than they would to Hoover or
that's a good point.
Riverside or something like that. You know what I mean? I would think that
somehow you could
kids
take
stick
kids
together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would be if you're doing it for bad reasons that you want to, then it'd be more likely for them to go to South Charleston than it would to drive to South Hills or Elkview or
But to your point, Coach, it also it creates some accountability on your part, because if you are getting funds from the city, that means you can't really break rules. You got to be tip tight.
No, that's my job.
Yeah.
You know, and to the benefit of people who have said like, okay, this is you know, I got a cushy job or whatever, you know, oh gosh, I wish I could have a job that I could do that. Well, again, for the city of South Charleston, the luxury of having that job is great. That that our Mayor Mullins would have a position like this. But on the other side of it it's to guarantee that we do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so every step that he's made for our youth, and I can remember why he told me like one time he said the reason why he funds this is he's looking to cover every avenue in which a kid has an opportunity to better themselves. Yeah. Some kids can do it academically. Some kids are going to do it basically athletically. So wherever there's a way, whatever's a venue, an avenue, an opportunity for you to be successful, he wants to make sure that you have that opportunity. He doesn't want your financial situation at home to hinder you.
Yeah, and again, I think, you know, even those other organizations from other municipalities, they could probably solicit their council and their mayor to maybe not cover in totality like South Charleston, but they could probably solicit those mayors and councils to at least chip in to help out. So I don't even know is that a conversation these other squads are having?
I don't know. And I'm sure, I'm 100% sure that one of the board members of the Appalachian Football League is listening. I know you're listening, okay? Because you're unaware or thinking at least that we would be talking about you again. Yes, we are. All we're asking is to explain to us why these are the teams that you're not playing, that you don't want to play in your league. What have they done? If it's put it out. Come on my show and say this is why we don't want South Charleston. Come on the show and say this is why we don't want Dunbar. Why we don't want Charleston. Come and say what they've done so that everybody can say it. I can lose my job because I've done something wrong and that's why we're not in. Do that. Am I wrong for that invitation?
You're crazy for asking.
Open yourself
Don't
up.
expect. Don't go answer the door. Ain't nobody there.
Well, but why not? You got to like. How do you? I don't understand this. How do 6 guys sit in a room, pick a president, a treasurer, all those departments or areas, and then say, okay, now let's try to figure out our bylaws. All right, what's a clean, easy way to get South Charleston out? How do we get Dunbar out? How do we get Charleston out? And by the way, let's get South Hills out, and let's get St. Albans out, okay? So you get those 5 teams out, and then all of a sudden you have these meetings for those 5 teams to come in, and then all of a sudden it's seemingly as though 2 teams are going to get in, South Hills and St. Albans, and you leave 3 teams. And you don't even say, like we asked the question about the city funding in the meeting. No response. They didn't say, yeah, that's the main thing. That's really the thing that's keeping us from having you guys because we just think, you know, it's some form of NIL money, and so we don't want to do it. And, you know, hey, Charleston, you know, you guys almost took a travel team. We know that you didn't take them. We know you didn't play with them, but we thought you was going to take them, so we don't think that you can. You're not up for the league. And Dunbar, we don't have anything necessarily on you, but we don't think we can accept you either.
But those 2 bylaws, this is probably the 5th. Wouldn't you say this is probably the 5th time this is happened?
Yes.
Where the leagues have.
First time of a bylaw though.
Yeah. But I'm saying the other 4 times this has happened where they've left those 3 communities out, it wasn't about city funding for South Charleston.
No, this is the first time.
Yeah, I mean,
this is the first time,
yeah.
and
This is the first time they have a legitimate, not a legitimate reason, but a reason.
They
to
have
write it down.
they're using a reason now to do it. And again, one of the things that I have to ask the listeners. I have to ask you to sit and think and give and come up with a reason why. At the end of the day, we have 3 teams that are out. What is there? Is there something in common that the 3 teams have? What I mean, like, what is it? What is it that you have that speaks to those teams? I promise you, if they say it, if they say South Charleston is this, they've done this and they've done that, hey, I'll own it. If they say Dunbar's done this, done that, I'm sure Dunbar would own it. If they say Charleston done this, done that, I'm sure that they would own it. Or at least it would free me up to say, okay, I was gonna hang with Charleston, but I didn't know they done that. Then I could let that go. But at this point, you just picked who you wanted and who you didn't want from get-go, gave us 20 minutes to sit and act like we are begging for a spot that only you can give us, and then you tell us no.
Charleston wasn't given the opportunity. They weren't given a 20-minute window to ask, were they?
They did. Apparently, they did not. They did not set up a time for the meeting, but I know for a fact they had called several times after trying to contact the president, and he has not called back. I know that the director over our sports, Jacob Arnold, has also attempted to contact him, and he has not called. He's not called anybody back. And I'm making a promise to the listeners who think this is wrong, or those who are even confused about why we're even having this conversation. I am going to test the politicians that are in Kanawha County, in Charleston, to stand up to this. Forget about voting. You got to stand up to this. You got to say something. These are the most vulnerable people. They don't vote for you. They're not old enough.
Yeah.
They don't know who you are. They're not old enough. But we're old enough. We're smart enough to know that this is a problem. And if we don't stand up to this, it's a shame. If a politician can't come out and say, and don't entertain me, don't text with me, about conversations that you're not gonna have. Yeah. Don't waste my time, because I'm not giving this up. I'm not going to give this up, not solely because of South Charleston, because it's just wrong, and it rubs me in a way that makes me feel different. It makes me feel a little bit of old school. Okay, I'm gonna put it that way. It makes me feel like I'm not. The kids that I'm working with, the kids that Charleston's working with, the kids that you're going to coach, don't fit. They don't fit. The kids that play in Dunbar don't fit, and so they can't play. Because how are they going to learn to love the game? I mean, this is where you learn to actually how to catch a ball, throw a ball.
But I don't know if the adults in the room are necessarily concerned about that. And that's
what do you think their concern is?
I think their concern is that, number one, we want to control it to the T. We want to win, and we just don't want to play against you for whatever reason. And I think that, this whole idea is sort of like a microcosm of just what's wrong with sports in general. This is what's wrong. To exclude. I mean, this is supposed to be the funnest time you play football. You're supposed, like you said, to be learning the game and hanging out with your buddies and doing all this stuff. And I just think the adults in the room are just they totally missed the point.
It's hard. It's hard to I mean, it's hard to have that conversation not talking about what those three teams have in common.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's, I've had,
But
I get threatened all the time for saying
South
that word.
Charleston is a little bit lighter than those two teams.
Yeah,
I think it has a capacity though.
Huh?
I think South Charleston always it can either go either way as South Charleston.
Yes, we can have quite a few darker kids, and sometimes we don't. But the good thing about us, we don't care. We coach whoever plays. We care about them. We care about the kids. And for those guys to sit there and talk about we're in this for the kids. We want the best for the kids, So are you saying
best for their kids?
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Say that you want the best for your kids. And I know a couple of folks in Nitro where the president of Nitro is the head guy. Is Joey?
I don't know.
I can't remember what his name is now, and I hate that because I really did want to make sure I got it out too. But anyway, you're wrong. You were wrong, and everything about this that you're doing is wrong. Now, what you can now do is you can say, "I will never let him into the league." You ain't let me into the league.
Yeah.
It's the kids that you're not letting in. I don't play. I'm done playing. But if you don't like me and you're going to take my kids out, something's wrong with you. Play my kids. Answer the call. Answer the phone. Take the phone call. Sit down. Have a discussion. Do that and tell us, because you can't use our city funding. You can't use it. It's a joke. It's a joke. Say what you mean. Tell us why you don't want us in. I mean,
I think that's the thing that the people that own the fields have to ask.
Right.
They have to ask those people why. And I think we give them a pass by saying there's 8 guys or 6 guys that make that decision. I think those are whole communities behind that.
See,
you can't tell me.
I don't buy it. I don't buy that. You buy it. You buy that. I don't know if the youth community. I don't know if the youth football community truly understands what happens when 3 teams are not in the league.
I think to Coach Carp's point, you're guilty by proxy. Because you know that these teams are being excluded. You're going to find out whether.
Well, yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
You're going to find out eventually. Within the next couple months when y'all start up and everything like that, you're going to find out, well, hold up, we basically created a league around these 3 teams.
And I'm watching
we made a circle around these teams.
Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I go to the All-Star games.
Yeah.
We were in Milton this past week. We played Ripley. We've had basketball is it's great.
Football's a different beast, though. You can't really compare the 2 sports. There's no other thing. There's no other game like football because a loss in football is a lot more devastating than baseball, basketball, so on.
And I'll even take that. Yeah. I agree with you, and I'll take that a step further. A loss in football is like getting beat up.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like you got bullied. Now, whether or not, let's say, I beat Coach Carp's team, and in a sense, I beat him up, right? Yeah. Right? So he's a little touchy. I beat him up 2 or 3 times during the season. So now the next thing that happens is I don't want to play him.
Yeah, this is just I don't know, Coach.
I don't understand how if you're a competitor, I don't understand how you
get back in the ring,
dodge people.
get
but I
back
think
in the ring.
to give those communities, there's not one person speaking for those guys. Those whole communities know. Everybody knows.
See,
you got a newspaper
I promise
or something. Everybody knows that they're doing that.
Yeah, these ain't
and everybody, that like I say, that's the part that always. You're talking about kids. You know what I mean? Like, remember we were there. I like Daniel cried. You're like, man, you're not talking about not letting Carl Lee play. I can understand none of them guys would want to go out and play 1-on-1 on you. You could probably still play DB well enough to keep any of us from catching the pass. But you're talking about 5 or 6-year-old kids that you're going to rob an opportunity to play football. Because why? Because your tax dollars are buying the helmet. Their tax dollars. People. They're not paying the taxes.
Well, they're getting the equipment.
Yeah.
The problem, they're getting the equipment, so it's not like they're
I
not
mean,
fielding a
that's-
team.
yeah, that's
that
not
can't be the problem.
No.
I mean, I don't know. This is an asinine conversation. It really is. And it
I know,
irks me.
and I know that
It
it bothers
irks me.
you to a
Because it's
point
just-
like you don't even want to have it.
Because it's pointless. You can't sell me anything as to why you would exclude kids, whether it's based on race, whether it's based on a competitive stance or what you believe you can't compete. Anything. We're talking about kids. This ain't developmental. You're not going to the NFL. This is just kids playing ball. That's it. This is it.
Every
It's
Sunday.
just it. It's just kids playing ball and it's girls cheer. Because a lot of times
Yes.
we forget about the
Yeah,
girls.
because cheers out too.
Because now I got to compete against 3 teams in the cheer competition. I got daughters. My daughters cheer. So it's like you're not letting the babies cheer. You're not letting the babies play ball. It's just what are we doing here? Like why? What are we doing? That we continue to have, to Coach Carr's point. This ain't the first time. This has happened. I would say almost every other year for about 20 years. Every other year, it's always something. Every 2 years.
It's never gotten this bad where it's only been, and that's what I was. I think every few years it kind of not self-corrects, but you bring. I hope somebody proves me wrong. But whatever community comes and gets the most black kids to come play, whether it's down the river or up the river or up on the hill, then in 2 or 3 years they're going to be kicked back out. You're going to be forced to go back and play in the downtown league with 3 or 4 teams. So
I asked this question, and please, on Let's Talk on my Facebook page, give me a justifiable reason of why this is happening, why you think it's happening, because the 3 of us have talked since last week about this conversation, and the realization of it is like the simplicity of it, of trying to make it racial, is almost, that's too simple. I mean, and maybe because it is, maybe that is because that is the reality. But on the other side of it, give me something to make it make sense. Tell me what it is. Tell me it is something other than. What could it be other than? Please hit me up, blow me up constantly, and explain to me why we should not think this is something bigger than than anything else. I mean, this is.
Have you ever heard of any other reason besides, like now you hear this about, we heard that when the Powell League was there, that, if you remember, they were, like, you guys got an unfair advantage. We have to sell tickets to fund football. And, so they thought South Charleston had an unfair advantage, which blew my mind. But I think the other thing that, the only other thing I've ever heard anybody say was, you go down, you go to the west side, there's violence, there's gangs, there's murders.
I remember those
crack
days.
kids
I
and
remember
all that
those
kind of
days.
stuff.
And I can even go back to a time where, there was some issues around some of the other programs, but those got fixed.
But here's the thing: every neighborhood, every community, they all have their drama. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And it
absolutely.
may look different, it may sound different, but when we was cheering competition, it was a team that you may not think was causing drama. They was causing drama. So every community has their drama, and if even at a funding level, right? That's an easy fix. I mean, you could, everybody chip in 500 or 1,000, and we'll divvy it up according to who needs the most. So those are easy fix, even if you look at it from a financial standpoint. This is the most asinine topic that I've ever This is crazy to me because I can't come up with a rational reason as to why this would even occur or it continues to occur.
Because there's nobody who sits on the head of this and says these things have to come through us.
But
because
the thing is, it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that because you create a league every other year. So if you create a league every other year,
but here's the thing: once let's just say Kanawha County will accept every Kanawha County team that's available to play.
Yeah.
And you start with a fresh page. You ain't got no negatives. Okay? Now, we're not excluding Putnam County. We're not excluding anybody who feels comfortable enough to come and play in this league.
Yeah.
So if that's Knights or Hurricane and Winfield, come play.
Yeah.
You know, if it's closer to us to come play with us. Now, at the end of the league, end of the season, Dunbar's won the championship in all three divisions. Okay? You have an opportunity to go if you're like we're never going to win. Okay, then you can leave the league, but we can't put Dunbar out of the league because they win.
But it's even ways to fix that. That's what I'm saying. It just seems so, like this whole thing seems insidious. Like, because there's ways to even fix that. You can go to a 2-tier system, and particularly if you mix Putnam and Kanawha, you might be talking, 12, 13 teams?
5 years ago.
Yeah.
So this was eye-opening for me. So, was that 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
They put everybody together. There's like 16 teams.
Yeah.
So now there was going to be an upper division and lower division. Now South Charleston, and Dunbar were all going to be in the upper division. The people in the small division were against it, and I thought you'd rather get beat by an all-white big school. You know, I mean, it was better for them because they didn't have to play as many big schools.
Right.
You know, there was a smaller, and I can't name them, I don't guess, but, and I was like, oh my God, you know, there's that much hatred in your heart that you'd rather, you know, you'd rather them not be in, and you got to go play the big schools. Where if we are in, then you're going to play a schedule of, you know, similar teams. If that makes sense.
And what this does too, because the way soccer's ran and t-ball and basketball, they're ran so efficiently that I think that as a parent, you just get tired of this, and I think it's going to drive kids ultimately away from football. And I think what's going to happen is that you're going to see soccer leagues fill up, and it's going to it could kill the game. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think that in its own right is the biggest fear that I think we have, is losing football from communities.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at like Westside Soccer; they're filled to the brims with kids.
Very few of them are West Side. My daughter plays
South
in that
Charleston
league.
too.
There's very few people from the West Side.
Soccer, and any league that South Charleston comes up with, they fill up the kids. You know, so we already have basketball. Now we're taking over
South
baseball.
Charleston kids, right?
Yeah, but we only take South Charleston kids.
West Side Soccer has very few. I mean, I may be wrong, but I don't think there's a whole lot of West Side kids.
Yeah, this is just.
I
just think we got to come up with a different solution. I don't think, to me, you just can't keep fighting this fight. So I think it's just time. You just got to form your own league, and I think you just got to go a different way. Not to say I don't think that somebody shouldn't be fighting, to make the case as to why this is wrong and whatever, comes out of that. But I think at some point, you just got to form your own league at this point.
How do you do that? I mean, who you going to play? My strategy would be, we break back up Charleston to two teams. You go,
I know that you say that, but who's going to do that?
I think you have to, like you just said, you got to get political leaders, and you have to get people who are non-affiliated. So that means your kid don't play. You have to have an executive committee of people who are just committed to making sure this thing works. So, you split up Charleston. If Dunbar wanted to, you would have Dunbar, Charleston, and then in the two West Side Charleston teams, South Charleston, and then
so you got four.
You got five.
Who?
You got Charleston East, Charleston West, Dunbar, South Charleston. You're right, you're four. And just try to pick up 2 to 3 more teams somewhere.
Where would you get?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Everybody with problem. Everybody's already accounted for.
But
there's nobody sitting there like, wait.
I mean, at that Appalachian League, you may solicit some of those teams back. You know what I'm saying? You have to.
That's what I'm saying, and I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But so you think about that. You think there's a team out there that goes, you know what? We're gonna get our teeth kicked in the downtown league.
But that's not the case all the time.
Sure,
it is.
Everybody.
But it's going to be some years that that team from Putnam or whatever is going to be better. They're going to be good.
They're
not
going to
be able
to
to
play
compete.
though. I mean, why would
I'm just saying
you're not going to give up an opportunity to play in your
I guess
Super
what I'm
Bowl.
saying is like you got to try something. You can't keep fighting this fight.
I think you hold.
But you know what? Here's you're 100% right, and that is exactly the right thing to do. But here is the problem with it, though. The people who's got to do something about it are us, and we don't. And there's not enough of us
It's more than enough. No, I don't reject that. It's more than enough. It's more than enough. You got a whole, like I said, South Charleston got a whole city behind it. And I think you can, like I said, if you do it right, like I said, it ain't gonna happen overnight. But if you can get, like you said, your politicians, you can get your business league, you get people who care or give a damn. You could make something happen. I'm not saying it's ideal.
I'd like to meet a couple of them.
I would too.
It's not ideal.
I think.
But I keep but how long are we gonna keep fighting before? Okay, they let us in. We done went through court. Now we got to do this. Now we're on probation. Now 2, 3 years down the line, it's another league.
Hollis, listen. To my soul, all right. To my soul, I get it. Like I am tired of them.
Right,
Let me do this. We'll pick it back up.
We've got a solution.
We've got to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.
Sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Carl Lee at letstalk@promessage.com, Dale Cooper at dcooper@wvradio.com, or call 304-342-8131. Ask Carl a question or comment on current or previous episodes. Visit Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook. Like, rate, and subscribe from your podcast service to help more people find Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
For the most part, I think where this is complicated from the politician's point of view, okay? If I'm going to try to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Is you're standing up for a huge minority.
Yeah.
And I use the huge minority purposefully because that doesn't really go together. Huge and minority doesn't really go together. To stand up to that huge minority of people, kids who are getting mistreated, seemingly is hard to do when the mass majority of the other side of it that's flourishing, playing their games, celebrating victories, talking about that's okay, we'll win next week. For those folks, the situation becomes they can bring me more. They have an opportunity to provide me something that I need compared to the large minority.
I couldn't imagine. Being somebody like, I guess there's two groups of people here. There are people that we have spoken to that they could fix it today.
Yes.
And they're sitting around a table and deciding, do I help these kids? At what point is can I sustain my career if I help these kids? Because there's going to be a whole line of hate comes at me. If I step in and make all these leagues be inclusive, then yeah, there's going to be some people. I'm going to feel that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that goes through your head longer than a minute. That part breaks my heart. And I don't see it any other way. I know I'm probably too simple, but you can't tell. I mean, there's no others. I mean, why would you not fix that now?
It's easy.
I mean, why would you be against forcing those leagues to be inclusive if they're using your fields and all that?
I did this today. I walked into the rec, and there's a group of older men who play basketball in there every day. They have a great time. So I noticed that they had finished up. So, was I on the phone with you?
Yep.
Yeah. So I decided, I was like, well, I got an idea. I'm going to ask these guys who these guys are probably retired, loving playing basketball every day at the rec. They have no knowledge of this situation.
Right.
And they're totally oblivious of it. So I said, hey, can I take a minute of your time to explain something that's happening in youth football? And they were like, yeah. Everybody said yeah. So I start going through the process. And literally, they're looking at me like, wait a minute, this is youth football? This is in Kanawha County? Yeah. Like, and one gentleman was very, very, very helpful. He said that, you need to go to the county commission is the place that you need to go. You need to go there and talk to those folks because, and we've all talked about this already before, they control the access to the fields.
Just one.
Kanawha
County schools.
Yeah. Yes. That person controls the access to the fields. And he says his thought process was, there is no way, if there are kids wanting to play a sport, that they could be kept out of a sport because of any particular single thing. And he believes that could be the shutdown. The question now becomes, do we restart it? What I mean by restart the league. Everybody who wants to be in the league puts a petition in, you're in. Everybody gets a clean slate. We don't care if you're in Putnam County. You can still join the league.
Right.
Your kids want to play here, come play here. All right? So we start playing. Let's say I did something stupid, crazy, out of line. That goes to that particular person to say, hey, Carl Lee he acted a fool, he did this, he done this, and cussed all the parents out and was cussing in front of the kids. And all of a sudden, now they make that decision of, not to the kids should play no matter what. Carl Lee can no longer be at the games. Whether it's suspension for a month, suspension for a week, or permanently. Let it be the adults. Let the adults be the ones who pay the consequences for the wrongdoing. Yeah. If we did wrongdoings, then go to my mayor and tell him that I did this, and he would likely fire me if it is something that I should not have done and should know better. What is there anything wrong with that?
No. Like in the middle school football works. Yeah. There's nobody from the Board of Education in any of those games. There's a principal. But I mean, and those games go off without a hitch. It's a good process, good rules, all that. I don't understand why that couldn't be extended to youth football. And then all those kids are protected. It's mind-boggling that you're having this conversation and you're trying to skirt around the reason why.
Well, I don't have a reason to.
No, I mean everybody has to.
Yeah.
And I get it. I think.
I'm interested in the comments.
There'll be none on anything we can read. I mean, I don't have it anyway, but there'll be nothing.
I'll let you know. I think when you start talking about kids, yeah. I think the majority, I don't care what community you're in, right. The majority of people are sympathetic to kids. And so, and I get it that everybody's special. Like my grandkid, somebody was to do anything to my grandkid, right. There's a problem, right? More or less my son, but my grandchild, it's a whole other thing. Now, my thing is this is so simple that you have to look at this as if this is your kid.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
Your kid is not playing. Your kid is not allowed to play because somebody said he can't play. Yeah. He can't be in the league. What adult male would say, I don't want Charleston kids to play?
Yeah.
I don't. Hey, they can go wherever they want to play. They got all kinds of places to play.
Well, that's what breaks your heart, because people that you're tight with think that, well, let's don't mess with them. Let's do our own thing.
Yeah.
It's not enough population. I mean, unless somebody's going to buy you a plane to get you to Columbus.
Yes.
Every weekend. It's.
Parents don't want youth football to be a hassle to them to get their kids back and forth to games.
I just think it's and like that's the heartbreaking experience of being downtown is without public outcry. The people that are the three communities we spoke about, if they could be fixed tomorrow, if there was enough public outcry tomorrow, if you could stir it up enough people to call, it would be fixed. It would be fixed by Friday.
All right, so
I really believe.
Okay.
I believe that in my whole heart. I tell people, this. The government. I don't know if you're big on this. I'm big into UFOs and stuff.
Okay.
The government's released papers. Right during COVID. They say UFOs are real. I'm not saying there's legal agreement, but they say it's out there. 99% of the white people I know don't know anything about that. And they don't want to hear anything about it, exactly. But that's why I tell people UFOs and systemic racism are two of the, until you're picked up and probed by the aliens, you don't care about that. And most of the people that are outlining that never been downtown, if it's, I catch grief for saying the word racism, systemic racism. It's not like rebel flag waving haters. I'm not saying the Klan's out here. It's not that, but just the way the system is set up, it's. It does hurt minorities. When you say that, until you've experienced it, it's hard for you to imagine it. Just like the alien thing,
I was arguing, debating, I guess, back and forth on Facebook with the gentleman who was talking about that racism is a thing of the past.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And this is all in the midst of youth football.
Yeah.
And I tried to my thoughts were. I think most people are good people.
Yeah.
But what happens is there's groups of people like, because here's who this is the person who makes me the maddest right here, is the person that's is already on the Appalachian board and knows this is wrong, but won't speak up.
Yeah.
Now, if you just join the Appalachian League and you realize that there are teams out there that you used to play that has not done anything, and you don't speak up, shame on you.
And those conversations happened before you showed up in your meeting. Those decisions to take or not were, so you could sit around. I've heard those conversations my whole life. And I don't think it's about people that's being mean but you just don't know what you don't know, and you think that, I know a lot of people that really think that that minority people get the best of everything, like the government is really pumping money and they're giving everything. And I think that's where the thing about the city and the police, you're thinking, well, we go, we got to hear this stuff about the minorities all the time. Well, they get to play for free. You're not playing free. You're paying taxes in South Charleston. Shame on your city taxes, for not. Yeah, it's not like nobody like you're dipping in your checkbook and you're paying for all that and giving your town. Carl Lee's not paying for that. The tax dollars are.
What? So, tell me what you're speak to somebody who's sitting there listening to us and thinking, I can't buy this. I don't get it. And or to that guy who's on the board who should step up and say that, guys, this is wrong. What would you say?
I just don't understand how anybody can justify taking an opportunity to play, whether it's tag or hide and go seek or football, away from certain kids. I can't figure out justifying it by saying this community's, the only two options you got are the funding part of it or the violence, and we're scared of them and all that kind of stuff. I just can't understand how you could sit on your thumbs and let kids, because that's who you're talking about. You're talking about little tiny kids that don't even have hair in their arms. These are babies. You know what I mean? It's not like they're big violent linebackers that are killing people. You're talking about little tiny kids.
And if you're gonna get if you're gonna get at me, if you want to get at me, then you should really just get at me.
Yeah.
But don't punish my kids. Don't punish the kids because of the things that I say. I'm doing this show to be able to say things that I think and take other people's advice or opinions or disagree. That's part of the show. So I have the platform to make this a conversation.
Yeah.
And I will make this a conversation as much and at some point, the name of the board will be put. I will make sure that will get out. Because if you're in Sissonsville, if you're in Nitro, if you're in Hurricane, if you're in Polk, if you're in Ripley, if you're in any of those, if you're in South Hills, if you're in St. Albans, and you're in this league, you should step up and say, we ought to let these other guys in.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not worth it. Because to me, to be honest, if it was me, I wouldn't even want in the league. Because I already know how you feel about me.
Right.
I mean, you're showing me. You're telling me who you think I am or what you think about me. But I don't have that ability. I'm looking out for
kids.
For kids. Yeah. Somebody else's kids.
Yeah.
And I want them to have the exact same opportunity that you have in Nitro for your kids. I want to be who you think you are for your kids in Nitro. I want to be that in South Charleston.
And if you think about the solutions, okay, that's the part that really breaks my heart is to see, I would say that the majority of athletic transfers in Kanawha County were from those three communities we named, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
To be safe.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
I don't understand how you can know that these communities don't want to play you. They don't want your kid in their football stadium when they're 5 or 6. But they'll take them in high school.
A huge point. That's a huge point.
Yeah, and the way you fix it, all right, well, bring on, transfer back to where you're from, and unify. Have a little bit of unity with in those communities. It'd be fixed real quick.
And I don't. One of the interesting things about that, Coach, is I don't know if people have seen it that way, because I'm just, when you said it, it was like, oh, you're right. These are the places that we're going after these transfers, getting them to play for them. But now on their youth level, they don't want them to plplay against them.
I couldn't imagine.
How is that? I know for a fact. People say that you got to know who you are, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a guy that really holds a grudge unless the grudge is something that's meaningful.
Yeah.
So if I lived in South Charleston and you recruited my kid, my oldest kid, to your team, and he went to play, then my youngest one is going to play on the youth football team, and you're not letting them in your league, you think my kid's staying?
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's always baffled me.
I got a jet getting him back. You know what I'm saying? I'm not waiting. I'm not even wasting any time. Yeah. And again, I don't know why the high school coaches don't try to, and they don't know. They don't know what's going on. So
a high school coach is not going to stop that.
But I was going to say, I can see why they wouldn't, but that they ought to step in and say, hey, because we want to build a foundation from middle school to high school. We want to build this structure with the kids who we're going to play with.
I think if it works this way, if Charleston and South Charleston don't have football, then you don't have to wait to 8th grade to recruit these kids. You know what I mean? You're already,
because they're going to look for somewhere to play.
You're already telling them. That's the heartbreaking part, is you're telling them now. Then in that 6 and 7 that your community's not any good. You got to go here to make it. And that's the part that's like gut wrenching. That's part of it.
I've tried to explain to people. Actually, I was talking to to a young gentleman earlier today about finding success in sports, specifically football.
Right.
You can make the case, the coaches can make the case that, you got to win, you got to do all those kind of things to get the attention. The very first thing that you have to have is you have to have the metrics. You got to have the height.
Oh yeah.
All that. You got to pass the eyeball test. I don't care how many touchdowns you score. I don't care how many blocks you make. The first thing is the metrics. And if you don't have the metrics, then you better be really special. Okay? Like when, you look at a Barry Sanders running, if you watch his documentary, he was way too small, way too short, but he was way too good. So he the metrics don't matter to him.
He got lucky.
The
quarterback for the 49ers.
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes. Yeah. I fit the metrics, but nobody thought I was good enough.
Right.
I was long. I had arm reach, had hand span, and all that kind of stuff. I had all that to play corner in the league. Now I'm playing safety. I'm a safety my whole entire career. They ain't thinking about that. So, in order for me to make it, though, even with the metrics, is the hard work. But in the hard work, it's the result of being able to get out on the field and play against somebody. To be able to say he plays against that kind of competition, he plays,
right.
he steps it up. But when you don't have that opportunity, when they're not giving you that opportunity, or the adults in the room want the trophy, they want that big trophy to take home and sit on the mantelpiece like they're the most notable coach in the valley. You're not. I mean, come on. You're not Chuck Noll. You're not Bud Grant. Nobody's gonna remember your championship.
And they don't remember when you're in high school.
No.
They don't remember when you're in college very long.
No.
It's always about the next one.
Nobody.
No, that's a terrible reason to think that people like the competition part of it is a lot of the reason too.
It is. They don't want the competition.
Yeah,
they don't want to face the competition. It's better for me to be standing on the sideline with my hat on, walking, pacing the sidelines, knowing that we're going to win this game.
I had to, so right when I get back into this is all this 4A, 3A, and all that, and somebody says, I was shocked how many people said, "Hey, you're going to be 3A." I said I didn't understand what was going on, and it was like, then we were 4A, and it's like, that's good, you know what I mean? And I told those kids, you want to, I'm not scared of Martinsburg. You want to beat, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't understand. I don't want to duck your way into it and not play I remember that when I was probably 29, I got there and somebody at one of these schools here offered me a job, maybe, and I remember Mr. Giles looked at me and I told him, and I was all excited. And at that point, it was hard to get these jobs.
Yeah.
And I told Mr. Giles, and he said, "That's good." He said, "You'll be good at it," or whatever. And he kind of looked me up and down. He said, "You don't think you're good enough to coach here at Capitol on the big stage?" And, and it hurt my soul,
Yeah.
And I thought, and I said, "Yeah, hell yeah, I can." You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, and he didn't tell me like one day I'll give you this job, but you know what I mean? It was like. But and I remember going home and Freddie Myers, who was like coaching my dad, but I remember Freddie was like, you need to go, you need to really think about these jobs are hard to get. And I took that, that challenged me so much that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he knew what he was doing, but, and I thought, I want to be in the biggest class. I want to be at the, where you're, the biggest stage. Does that make sense? I couldn't understand it any other way.
Where else would you want to be?
Yeah, and I remember thinking, hell yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. And I'm going to show you, And every day that echoed in my, every day I try to take a day off or something, you're like, no, you got to get to work, man. It's heartbreaking because you're still talking about kids. I just hope that the troubling part is there'll be people from, I hope not. I wish that, I prayed that when people from those three communities hear this, that they don't get mad because it's Carl Lee or me
Oh, I'm sure they're going to be mad.
saying it.
I'm sure they'll be mad that it's me.
And I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. We're probably both
Too vocal
jerks.
yeah.
But but it's not. Neither one of us are going to play. But I wish that they would. Because this would be fixed if they would. Take Carl Lee and me out of it, or how anybody else. If you would get on the phone tomorrow, and you'd get on Facebook, and you'd make the people that hold the decisions, the mayors, the board members, and all that. If there would be a public outcry tomorrow of, hey, protect our kids, make sure our kids have an opportunity to play, it would be fixed by Friday. If they could, if they could just find in their heart to be unified just give us 3 days. Fight for these kids, then your problem's over, and it's that way forever. Because I don't think you can. If Kanawha County unifies it, you can't break it apart.
There lies the solution.
Yeah, I mean it's an easy fix.
It is a very easy, very very easy fix.
Yeah.
And again, for all you folks who chose to listen today and heard this conversation, and you please write something, say something, tell us what you think this is, because I'd love to be wrong. Coach, I'm sure that you would love to be wrong. But at this point, it just all the optics look bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no justification, there's no reasoning, why can't they get in? How come they didn't get in? Why did you let them in? Why did they not let them in and now let them in? Well, all of those kinds of questions I think are truly important. And if you're going to be a president of a team, then you ought to be able to speak out about your team. You ought to be able to speak out and say, this is why we don't want South Charleston. Mm-hmm. And please don't flip it like, oh, this is why, because this is how Carl Lee is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm this way when my kids get treated bad, because you don't even matter to me in a normal day. The only time you matter is when you're dealing with the kids that are from South Charleston that I'm responsible for. So please, I think if we can get folks, I don't care where you live, you don't have to be in West Virginia, you're on Facebook, you've seen this, you heard this, say something. Say what you think it is based on the facts. And again, I'm just going to run through the facts before we close up. There were a group of teams who decided to create a league. The Appalachian Youth Football Cheer and whatever. And it's made up of all of the Kanawha County teams, with the exception of South Charleston, which I am responsible for, Charleston, which is predominantly black, Dunbar, which is predominantly black, and South Hills and St. Albans. South Hills has had a short history of quite a few talented black kids. St. Albans has not been overly good in the great days. They're no different than us, but they may have some kids. We believe that both of those teams got in, which then becomes a consistency of 3 teams, South Charleston, Charleston, and Dunbar, not getting into different leagues or being put out of leagues. I don't want to keep saying what I think it is. I'm so curious to hear why you would think that a league who sit in front of me and said, we're about kids, and they can allow 3 communities to not play in their league. And I see Velatami is watching, so I'm really curious about what you may say later on. So I because again, hopefully you can understand that South Charleston, and we do everything right. So I'm curious to see what you say, but hopefully you'll be on the right side of this. Hopefully. So, Coach, I don't know if I'm hoping that you're right, that this is going to get fixed. You think that there's a possibility this could get fixed
I think
in a hurry?
If these communities speak out.
If they speak out. If the communities speak out. And again, don't let the coach be the person who labels you as a community of who you are. Right. Don't let the person who's leading your football team be the example of what your community isn't. Okay? Because he or she may not be interested in addressing the main person who's creating this. So they're just going along with it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Stand up. Stand up for the kids, for what we used to say, all kids. Youth sports is about all kids. That's what we used to say.
Kanawha County Schools, that's on their headline, it says, where all kids come first. Well,
all kids are not coming first, and we need to let them know that. And I'm sorry, I hate to say it again, I'm not giving this up. I'm gonna fight this, and I don't even have to worry about Coach Carp. I know he'll be right there with me. We're gonna fight this, and we're gonna fight it.
We're probably going to be fired coaches next year.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time, and again, looking forward to hearing and reading some of your comments, and hopefully they're in agreement. All right, we'll be out.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.